There was a couple of zoning hearings before that. The presentation went excellent. Our engineer, Tyrus Clayton, and Matt Burnett led in the presentation of what our needs are, and it was very similar to the presentation they made at our called town board meeting August 26th. The request that we made to the county commissioners was for $715,000 for flood mitigation, $400,000 for water line. As we know, the needs are about $3.2 million. That was the request that we made at this point to start the process. I made a presentation afterwards explaining that the money could come out of the American Rescue Plan money, of which the county had $40 million allocated, and the town would use their $222,000 for the project. After Marla Ashworth also made a presentation, as well as Dickie Braswell, and most importantly our fire chief did, of rescues that he had made several times during the floods, which included the most recent flood and the hurricane floods. We also emphasized the importance of getting a water line from Massey Holt Road to town, which is part of the Broadman Water District. The public that lives in that area does not have the same fire protection that the public in the other areas do. And the quality of water in the town and in that area south of town, because the Broadman Water District line does not connect to the Princeton line, there is some water quality issues. The presentations went well. A couple of commissioners needed further information. I think clearly that we were going to get the request, and that meeting will be on the 20th of September at 6 o'clock, and I encourage everyone to attend. Citizens on Walnut Street, Cloverdale, or any of the areas of town that have been affected by the rainstorms that we've had. The more people we have, the better I think the county commissioners will feel about allocating the money to us through the American Rescue Plan. And more of that will be discussed later, but the importance is that we are in the process of putting the proposal together to go out to bid. We do have some of our town money available to move forward, but in order to do the work in the manner we need more funding. So I will, anyone wants to add to that or any other comments? Mike, you were at the meeting. You want?
Yeah, I was at the meeting, and I feel that it was overall a positive thing. The reason I guess a vote wasn't taken is that they had evidently had a previous discussion about making votes of such magnitude. I guess they need a little more time to think over votes like that. So I guess I don't really think there was anything that could have been said differently. I think that was just a feeling of a couple of commissioners. So anyway, I think it was a positive meeting. I think they recognized the need, and so anyway, next Monday we will find that out. And on a different note, I would like to thank Andrew for coming and helping us out. He's done a wonderful job at our church, and the YouTube live that is every Sunday morning twice is very well done, and I'm sure that he'll have Lee up and running just as well in no time.
Anyone else would like to make comments at this point? Hearing none, the next item is to adopt our agenda. Is there a motion to adopt our agenda?
There is, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think that you need to repeat who.
Okay, motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin and seconded by Commissioner Scotty Brown. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. And next is our consent agenda, which includes the minutes of 4 board meetings, including some closed meetings, and a proclamation for Constitution Week. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
There is.
Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Martin made that motion and seconded by Commissioner Broderick Robinson. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? And next is persons to be heard. Okay. Next on our agenda is report from the Chief Sutton.
Good evening.
Evening, sir.
Do not have much before you tonight, but I will explain a few things. In your packet, you see your normal monthly report. I do want to just mention a few things that transpired with some significance this past month. We had one overdose, which resulted in death in town. There was not any foul play or anything like that. We didn't get any feedback that would suggest such from the medical examiner. We did receive 24 boxes of Narcan. We didn't have any Narcan, and for those of you who are not familiar with Narcan, it's basically a temporary treatment for someone that will suffer an overdose. And it's just to get them revived and get them to the nearest hospital. So it's not a long-term treatment, it's a temporary treatment, but it's effective and a lot of agencies use it. So one of my FBI colleagues, FBI National Academy colleagues, he's working with an organization that works with agencies. And what they do is distribute those boxes out to agencies who have budgets that are not practical to purchase such items. So I was able to get 24 boxes from him, and those run about $75 to $100 a box. So it would have cost the town about $2,400 had the town made those purchases. So I think we're very fortunate to get those. We will be training them though. It would require some training, not extensive training from EMS, but just to make sure everyone is up to par on the process and make sure everyone knows exactly how to administer those.
Those are one-time use.
They are. They're one-time use. Not that we have a large number of ODs because EMS is right down the street. However, if I need additional for whatever reason, it won't be a problem. I can get additional. We just have to document when we use it just to justify them providing us with additional boxes.
Are
So
there-
a box is one dose?
Yeah, so you got one box. It has one box has 2 in it, but they equal 24. So you get 2 in a box, 2 small treatments in a box, but we've got 24 actual uses, technically 12 boxes,
Okay, so we got 24 doses.
24 doses, yes.
Is there any danger in the dose, like if someone was misdiagnosed as being overdosed?
There's not any danger to those at all. It also helps any citizen that might OD, but it also helps the officers because Wayne County had an officer or a deputy a few months ago, and he was exposed to fentanyl when he was searching the car, and not. I'm not sure if any of you are aware of that, but fentanyl is very deadly, and if you inhale it, it can be fatal. So he inhaled it, and thank God they had some Narcan there that reversed the effects of it. So it actually helps. It has a dual purpose. It helps the citizens. God forbid something like that were to happen. It also helps the officers. Our vehicular accidents have increased due to school traffic. We're averaging about 2 a week. It doesn't reflect your report because a lot of them were in this month as well as last month. But that's kind of to be expected. They're not extreme or serious, but most of them have been in PDAs, parking lots, public vehicular areas. And last but not least, we have the 2 properties that we've had several complaints concerning. The tenants that was in those properties at, I think, 301 and 303, if I'm not mistaken. And the mayor and I had quite a few conversations, as well as Maul and I've spoken to seeing those properties. And through continuous conversations, they were able to have the properties signed back over to them from the owner who was leasing the properties, leasing to purchase. So those properties are now vacant, and the residents are, they have relocated out of
And
town.
I just want to add that Lee Hartley was very valuable in putting together some photos that were pretty good evidence of what the properties looked like, at least on the outside.
Oh, absolutely.
And that it was a win-win as far as I'm concerned of unfortunately, the tenants were not, we're having a lot of issues with the tenants.
And so they relocated in town or out of town?
Out of town. Yeah, I'm not sure where they are, they're just not in town. And one other thing I didn't mention was the construction, I guess, that will be taking place on Pearl Street where the Beaver Dam is located. I've contacted the school officials to ensure that the buses are rerouted. And it might be a little congested tomorrow, hopefully not too bad, but they'll be rerouted to, I think you call it Little Austin, which is the side road by Food Line, and then it will reroute them back up Railroad, and then they'll make a left down Pearl. The reason we're using that route is because Pine Street it gets very congested after school, and we do not want to cluster there, and we definitely don't want to cluster on Center Street because you have the service center there, and cars are backing up, pulling in, and that's just an accident waiting to happen, so we're trying to avoid those issues.
And that's gonna be down for 4 weeks?
I'm not certain.
They said 3 to 4, so we went on the outside of their estimate.
So,
That's that ramp right there going, you talking about going right there off of Princeton, right there by the school? Where all the tiles and stuff are sitting?
yes, sir.
So you're not gonna be able to get out of town that way?
No, you won't be able to come, you won't be able to reach Dunedin from that area. You won't.
Okay. When does
Center
that
Street,
start?
Pine Street,
When does that start?
tomorrow. I just don't know what time it's gonna be. I'm not sure what time it's gonna be, but it will be tomorrow.
It's my way home. When you got a
Oh.
20-foot trailer, you got to.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the truck drivers going to Rock Quarry, they're gonna have to reroute as well, so. Hopefully it won't
I
be.
know how to get around. I just was wanting to make sure when, you know what I'm saying? I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
wanna get
absolutely.
jammed up in there, that's all.
Oh, no. Well, you can always use Center and,
I can go down there buy food, like, and go out the wrong way, that's fine.
Yes, sir. Any questions?
Now, the buses will turn left and then right at Food Line.
They'll turn left on Donniestown Boulevard, going east, and then they'll make a right turn at side road near Food Line, and then they'll make another right, which is technically Old Girlie's Mill Road, that
Right.
will transition into Railroad, and then you'll make a left on Pearl. So
Now,
basically, you just go on certain.
That's going to cause a problem because the buses can't make the left-hand turn because it's, of course, too close to the railroad track. And remember that buses have to stop.
Yes, well, Mr. Davis said he was gonna run that route, the one who's in charge of the buses.
Yeah.
And he was gonna check it out, and he said if he feels like it's gonna, because we discussed that, he said if he feels like it's gonna be an issue, he'll use Pine Street, that's gonna be the only alternative. So, but I'll check with him again, because I was concerned about the radius, the turning radius, but that is a good point, you will have to stop at railroad crossings. And there's a short distance when you get to the railroad from the turn, so.
Now, from an ex-school bus driver about 20 some odd years ago, unless the laws changed, being that close to the railroad track, that can legally be their stop
Right,
and make that left turn without having to stop again.
okay,
Because they're sitting there, what I'm saying is, unless it's changed, they legally can do their open door look, because they can see both directions.
okay.
And then make the left turn and cross. Unless that has changed, they shouldn't have to stop again because it's too short of a distance. You see what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, because it is short. Commissioner Warren, what you think about that? I'm just-
Unless the law has
Since
changed.
you're driving, I was going to ask, but we'll still
I
talk to
think,
Mr. Davis and see what he says.
I think we're going to stop.
But that's all that I have on this.
I had 2 questions. I was checking to see how our search for our new officer is coming.
Right now, we have someone call and inquire. I don't know where that's gonna go this yet, but we got a phone call that came in from another agency. And they basically stated they knew someone that wanted to apply. So I don't wanna put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak, so we'll kind of see how that goes. But of course, they was instructed like anybody else would be to file an application. But it's been extremely hard. I've spoken with Town Clerk Williamson, and we've updated all the advertisements that we have up. I think Indeed, and there's a couple more platforms that we're using, but it's just not easy. Most agencies are suffering from the same recruitment.
That really doesn't matter, no matter how much they pay you either.
No, there's some agencies that's paying real well, and they're still having some trouble. So I think it's just the temperature of law enforcement right now.
And I had one other question. Several months ago, we updated a use of force SOP, and it seems like, I just thought about it when you were speaking earlier, but there was a part that Commissioner Martin was questioning about that we were going to go back and look at. Is that, am I thinking right? Was there a part of that was unfinished, or did we finish all of that?
Should have been finished. It should have been, that change should have been made already.
Okay. Okay.
Quick question, Chief. I don't know if you have any information. There was I think it was a call for law enforcement in the Eagles Crest subdivision, and we had backup to come from Pine Level. Can you elaborate on that, if that will?
Was that recently, like?
About 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, I don't think there was any significance to it.
Okay.
Nothing to worry about. I think it was additional units just as a precaution, I believe.
So they'll start this way. It's better for them to start this way and turn around than.
Well, they actually had to come.
Yeah.
And I noticed that one of the officers, they knocked on my door, and they knocked on the door across the street, and I saw them kind of searching, so I didn't know, what all had taken place.
Yeah, we just call it investigation was basically what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, when I say it wasn't anything significant, meaning it wasn't anything that was, like, we weren't searching for any suspect of any type or anything like that. Or just an inquiry.
Okay.
And a lot of times they will respond in numbers. We don't normally wait, like Commissioner Martin says. We get the call, we go ahead and respond. I'd rather them respond, if we slightly need some help and not respond at all.
Gotcha.
And I'm sorry, I did have one more thing on more of a personal note. I'm on a committee for the country fair that's coming up next month, and I was in a meeting yesterday, and there was a little question as to whether the permit was approved, and so I figured since I had you right now, I would go ahead and ask you if you knew.
It is. I actually stamped it approved, but I did speak with Ms. Lee about it, and I think she had asked the same question.
Okay.
And because there were some people inquiring about it.
Okay.
So it is approved. I just got to give them a phone call and let them know everything's good to go.
Okay.
And make sure, even though it's on the weekend, but just make sure everyone's aware of all the business on it.
And I can speak, if that's okay, but I did make the call because they were trying to make arrangements
Okay.
for deliveries.
Right.
So when they inquired and I found out, I did make the call. So it may not have got down the line yet.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Next is a report from Public Works Superintendent Thompson,
Good evening.
better known as Chad.
Yeah, that worked. Hope y'all had a great weekend, holiday weekend. I have a few things tonight. First thing on the list is we had an employee to get hurt on the job. We had a workman's comp claim. It was related to pulling garbage. Guy had about 10 toilets out. So, the employee was Bobby Green. As he was loading the toilet, the lid slid off the toilet, the lid was broke, the lid hit his leg. And cut his leg, he had to have 13 stitches. And so he was out for 3 days, the rest of that week. He's doing fine now, the stitches are out, everything's good, so we were very blessed on that. Secondly, I did hire a new employee for a maintenance worker 1 position. Some of you may know him. His name is Matthew Brazel. He went to Princeton here. I think he graduated in '07, I believe. I'll have him at the next meeting for y'all all to meet him and talk to him and ask him any questions. Today was his first day and went very well. I'm going to be very pleased with him. And last of all, we got our pump back for our influence station at the wastewater treatment plant. The repair bill was $1,700 for the rebuild of the pump. I know I was telling y'all last week I would have the price for that pump. It's also in y'all's notes here. So, like I said, we got the pump back. It's doing fine and everything's good. So,
Chad?
yes, sir.
Go ahead and finish.
Oh, no. I was fixing to ask you if I had any questions.
Okay. I know that you completed the smoke testing. What were your findings, and have you made any fixes yet?
We have made some fixes. We have a report, and I actually was gonna bring it tonight. Had it in my truck, took it out of my truck, and it's out of my truck now anyhow. So, but yeah, we got a report back from the engineer, and there was right many cleanouts that were busted due to lawnmowers, miscellaneous things, people running over, driving them over them. We had a few ditch culverts that were pulling some smoke. So obviously that's a big problem. Get a lot of rain at one time, going in ditch culverts, just keeping in line. And in them areas, it's the older parts of town, so it's old clay line. I'm sure that's what it is under the culverts. But when they're put together with a gasket, and over the years the gasket rots away. There's no gasket. Rainwater washes in. But for the most part, that's what it was. There was one spot that we were aware of on West First Street. We actually fixed that before we got our report back. We had a pretty big crack in the pipe in the bottom of a ditch over there in front of the apartments on 404 A and B on West First Street. That has been repaired, and we can tell a big difference on our lift station on that side of town as well. And I ain't even checking that second, but the one on East First, yes, we are going to we're sleeving that line through, and the one on West Second, I'm not sure if it's on there, but I guess we could work it out and get it on there.
Got a question, Chad. I noticed as I was looking over my minutes, you have some repairs in Eagles Crest. 201, is that the one that, if my memory serves me correct, is that the one that we've been having a lot of problems with in that area?
Let me see. Yeah, right on the, no, we haven't really had any issues with that one. There's one, I think it's 105, Majestic. We've been over there a few times, but 201, we haven't really had many issues with that one. And that one, like I said, is just a floating, man. They stay in a certain position so long, they just, eventually go bad. And the same thing with our stations too.
So that's the same thing with, what is it, 119?
Yes, sir. They were both due to float failures. Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Chad, you said Bobby got cut on a toilet, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
said, and there were several of them he was getting?
Yeah, it was.
Where was that at? I mean,
It was actually in the downtown district. We have a guy there, and we've had several issues with this guy bringing in trash from outside of town. Because obviously there ain't 10 toilets in this building. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, we're not
yeah.
complete idiots, you know. So, but anyhow, so yeah, I've also had a long discussion with him as well.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there was about 10 toilets stacked out there, right across from the downtown business.
So knowing that we have had issues with them in the past,
Yes, sir.
and now that one of our employees got hurt, is there something that we could do about that, or some type of fine or something?
Yeah, that's what, and we've actually talked about that. Like I said, I have went by and talked to him and pretty much told him I've known what he's doing the whole time. I just kind of looked the other way, I guess you would say. And but now that one of our employees has got hurt, you know, if it happens again, it's going to be taken to another step. You know.
Well, the only issue with that, if we don't have a policy or rule, that we may be able to say something about people hauling in excess garbage that wasn't generated here. And as far as the others, I don't really see us riding that horse too far. Because that's that raises a whole bunch of issues that I'm not sure that we would want to just casually get involved in situations such as that.
Well, it's clear that construction-related materials are not, you need to rent your own private dumpster if it's construction-related. And I think our ordinance clearly states that we're there for premises garbage, but not for,
Bringing in from,
I'll give you an example. When I've ever done a construction project, we have a container on premises and haul it off.
so,
Especially with bringing in items from outside, and God forbid if he had gotten cut and that particular toilet may have had some type of disease on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we want to protect them. If that's what our job to protect and serve, then we want to make sure
My
everybody's
great
protected.
uncle, that's how he died. He got sick. He was in Plymouth, and he got cut on the toilet, and that's how he died. But I think we need to address construction materials in some type of policy or whatever we got to do to word and we get it where we're not picking that stuff up.
I believe it is in there.
Madam Administrator, do you think?
I don't have a copy of it, but I think I've read that.
Madam Administrator, do you think that anything in our policy currently?
I think so. I think there's something about bringing trash from outside and about construction materials. I mean, it's basically we hire a contractor, then the contractor should dispose of the materials. And if the contractor works in town, he needs to dispose of the materials, not through the town's trash service.
Yeah, that's how we do with our limbs and leaves. You know, if the contractor comes in and cuts down a tree, he's responsible for disposing of it. But I guess with construction materials, you don't really have that many issues, you know, because he's really the only one we've had problems with, and it's been on. And you know, it ain't like it's a dump truck load, you know, it's just a few items, but now it's kind of a different situation since we've had someone hurt, you know, so, but I'm definitely looking, like I said, I've had a good long talk with him, so I don't think we'll have to worry about that again for him, at least anyhow, again.
Okay.
But I think it does need to be written somehow that there is, that we're not only not gonna do it, but like if somebody was to bring it and then they just left it, then what, you know? And then at that point, we'd have to either collect it and find that person
Exactly right.
or something.
That's what I
It has to be-
see, that's what I see we would do.
Well-
Like I said, we would get it final.
But by the same token, if you're going to do that, then you have to have a particular policy in place to do that.
But we,
I feel like we probably do. I can't quote it to you or tell you what
But
I'm
I'm,
thinking
but
outside
I'm, but I'm talking about as far as.
I think there are remedies and everything in the policy, but we just hardly ever have to refer to it because
Yes.
most people just do what they're supposed to do.
common sense.
Exactly.
But we can report back at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Drainage, I know we've not had significant rainfall in the month of August, but, you know, when I say significant, less than 2 inches, but
Yes, sir.
is most of, where we saw trash in the ditches, have we gotten most of, with the exception of doing the project that we're proposing doing, is drainage worked fair?
Yeah, like I said, there's a few spots that we kind of keep a check on, you know. A Ballpark Road, obviously, is one of them. And close to Pine Street, Walnut Street. You know, we kind of keep a check on it all the time, so it's, you know, never really, like I said, we ain't really had that much rain, thank the Lord, lately, so. But, yeah, that seems to be sort of project.
Now, what was the project that was done on Pine Street last week that caused the road to be closed?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the state replacing culverts, to the sizes they had agreed to change them to. However, they missed the step where we need to coordinate with them so that the, elevations would match up with what we needed to do from all the way out on Massey Holt Road back over to, Cloverdale. And so they started, and then, our engineer got in touch with them and they put what they had back until they could coordinate and make sure that everything was gonna work out. Because if they had set that day, that would determine what the elevations for all the pipe after and before it would have to be, and it may or may not have worked out.
Okay. Cause I know I looked and I said, well, I still don't know what to do. Yeah.
But our engineer and the engineer for our district, they're on the same page. It's getting the maintenance folks from DOT to follow the engineering drawings. And we don't want anything not to be on scale, because that's been the problem in the past. So I want to emphasize the county commissioners meeting. I know we've got 2 or 3 people who live in, do you plan to be at the county commissioners meeting?
Next Monday, I think my son's first soccer game is going to be, so I'm going to be there
Okay.
for that.
Can you have someone from your area?
Yeah,
I'll be there.
You'll be there. Okay. Anybody else? I know that there were supposed to be some folks that came, but we missed them not being there, but it was all covered. So, okay. It's on the first floor of the courthouse. Are you familiar with the courthouse at all?
I'm familiar with it, but I don't know.
Okay. So you'll go in the atrium, which is the middle of the old courthouse, and your courthouse, and you'll turn right down the hall, and it is about halfway down the hall on the right. I'm not aware of any items on the agenda that would be before ours, but hopefully we should be out within an hour, I would think. Because
Yeah, they said don't make another presentation. They had all that they needed. So yeah.
And what's the name of the room going to be?
it would be the commissioners, the board room.
Okay.
if you've ever been there, that's on the same hallway that the clerk court is on the other side of the hallway.
Okay, first floor, okay, thank you.
Okay.
And it starts at
6. Okay. The next item on our agenda is some minor cleanup with the zoning ordinance 15.8.1. And there was just some language that needed to be clarified. So I'll turn that over to Marla.
Sure, I'll do it. When we updated our zoning ordinance to comply with General Statute 160D, one of the things that changed is the use of the term conditional use permit. It's no longer a thing. And so, for the most part, changing the words conditional use permit to special use permit solved the problem, except for in the case of 15.8.2, because we had decided in our ordinance to have the special use permit applications approved or denied by the town board, and have conditional use applications approved or denied by the Board of Adjustment. So when you change conditional use permit to special use permit, it's the two different things right in a row. But since the intent was for the majority of permits to be approved by the town board, we felt it was appropriate to just strike the second sentence from the ordinance.
Okay, we could do this without a public hearing,
Yes,
because it's just a cleanup.
yes. Verified by Triangle J.
Right.
Okay.
So you need an informal motion?
Yes, sir.
And what would that motion be to say?
No, to strike the second sentence of section 15.8.2.
Motion is so made.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin. Is there a second? Second made by Commissioner Scotty Brown. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously.
The copy you have, the 160D copy you have, has that correction in it.
You want this back?
No, that is your copy.
Okay.
That's the new copy.
Okay.
We feel fairly confident of the correction.
Because now, Taylor, because didn't you just give us a copy of this?
That was prior to the 160D,
Okay,
and this is with the 160D changes included.
okay.
So all other copies can be,
Removed.
So the last copy you got was where we updated from our land use plan, the changes we want to make based on our land use plan. And then when we updated 160D, there were quite a few administrative changes. So the majority of the changes are in chapter 15.
Okay.
There are a few more here or there, but that's why you have to pick them up.
Okay.
I'm going to move item number 13 after item number 9. All the other items sort of pertain to what we're going to be doing in closed session. So item 13 is membership or sponsoring the Princeton Bulldog Band. So I don't know who wants to address this request at this time.
we had 7 band members come in themselves and did a presentation. And I told them that I would present it to the board, and they said any amount would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a comment. I donated some money myself, personally, and I feel it is a good project, but I would encourage commissioners to do it personally. If we start this trend and every club at school and every good project by a lot of civic organizations would be setting a precedent, it might get out of hand.
Yeah, I thought likewise whenever I saw the paperwork for. So that's 2 cents from the mayor and 2 cents from the mayor. So we got 4 cents now.
Like the mayor, I've been approached. I'm sure I'll be a sponsor with my business, and that's probably the best place for these sponsorships to be.
Is there consensus?
There you go.
Tell them thank you. Keep working hard. Yeah. Okay. Before we do have a motion to go into closed session, Marla is working, well, the whole town staff is working on getting information together for the auditor. But as we closed the year out back in 6/30, we felt we had some additional fund balance to be added. So do you want to go over what those numbers are?
It looks like that we're going to increase our general fund balance about $171,000 this year. And the majority of that is the excess sales tax revenue we took in, where we thought we were going to take in less and budgeted much less, and we actually took in more. And then we also had some of the COVID funds that came in through Johnston County, contributed to that as well. And I don't know that all of it will be unrestricted, but the majority of it should be unrestricted, because our percentages as far as statutory reservations change as our budget numbers change. That our unrestricted balance was $300,000, just a smidge over $300,000 last year. So we should be well over $400,000 in unrestricted funds once our audit is complete this year.
Do you have the exact figures as far as the split of the increased tax revenue minus the money from the government?
No, but we only got $43,000 from the government.
So that will be in the 70s for the increased tax revenue?
Not over 100. But there's some other factors in there too. But no, I didn't split it out by revenue, because we're verifying every account right now. And the mayor asked me this morning for that number. So I can give you a number this morning, but it might change by this afternoon, because we're verifying everything as we go through preparation for the audit.
Maybe,
But I can break it out for you.
maybe I didn't hear the.
171,000.
Oh, okay, because I was thinking 117, and I was thinking, I said, how much you get those figures? Okay. All right.
Which is all good news.
Oh, yeah.
The other items are sort of pertaining to what we do in closed session. So,
Oh, Ms. Mayor, let me ask a question, because we got a discussion on the USA Community Building Fund. Now, we wouldn't be doing that in closed session.
no, but what we do in closed session will have relevance to how we will go in that direction, so. So, is there a motion that we go in closed session?
There is.
Is there a motion made by Commissioner Robinson? Is there a second to that motion? Okay. And if you would state the reason that we're going into closed session, so the public will know the reason we're going to closed session.
I'm going into closed session to discuss affairs that needed to be discussed privately.
Okay, it's actually for the purchase of
Yeah.
Kenny Woodard Properties, which is behind the community building on Pearl Street. So is there a second to that motion?
Second.
So there's a second by Commissioner Rose. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion's unanimous. So with this, Lee will have to close the YouTube, and then we'll come back on YouTube after we come out of closed session. And everybody's free to stay in the conference room or somewhere else, but this is a legal issue we got to go through.
Just want to push out, but
All right. No action was taken in the closed session pertaining to purchase of Kenny Woodard properties. We will, further information will be gathered. Next item is consider application for North Carolina Main Street and Rural Planning Center Community Economic Recovery and Resiliency Initiative. And so the application is in front of us. Basically, it's to assist in making our downtown more attractive. We'll get the brand name of the North Carolina Main Street project, and who knows what kind of money might come out of that. So, Marla, do you have any more information? Curtis is not here, but
No, but our our planner Curtis Lee, compiled the answers to the questions for the application and provided them to me to review. And I had some input on some of these answers. And it's an electronic application, so there's a character limit for each answer. So if you think, well, why didn't they add this? We didn't have enough room. So in the room we had, we tried to pick the most important pieces of information, what we felt was most important to support our application. And so after reviewing it, I'm hoping you'll give us permission to submit it, just due by this Friday. And it's for technical assistance. And there's no cost except for they have to have a liaison with the staff.
And it could provide some technical assistance for a civic center / community building. Is there any discussion, or is it pretty simple?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd make the motion that we allow the administrator to go forward.
Is there a second to that motion? There is. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin and seconded by Commissioner Robinson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Number 12, excuse me, consider next step to improve downtown traffic, parking, and sidewalks.
If you recall, in our land use plan, there's several pages dedicated to downtown and how traffic movement, sidewalks, and potential parking would look in the future. And so to take the next step in that, we need to engage the services of a, oh shoot, I just lost the, transportation engineer. And this company was recommended to us. They're not a large firm, they're small and can meet our needs. And they put together a cost for their fees and outlined everything they do, what they'd be looking at based on the vision we put out in our land use plan. And again, this is one of those things that I'm asking you to invest a little bit of money so that we can put together some information that'll lead to a plan that we can submit to a funding agency and include this fee as part of our development costs and be refunded for it.
So none of this would be covered by the brownfield, not the brownfield, but the Golden Leaf money for how we're gonna do the streets downtown?
No, I'm not gonna say there's not some Golden Leaf money that would do it, but not this initial study. And
but they're gonna be tearing the streets out, so wouldn't that be a good blend to do the cul-de-sacs or whatever during that time period?
we're not tearing out a lot of streets in the modified plan, but we had to come up with the railroad things.
Okay. I thought the new sidewalks and new streets were gonna be in place.
No.
So how's the drainage gonna?
I can't explain that whole drainage plan to you,
Okay.
but we were hoping we'd have enough money to repair the drainage and repave the roads and redo the sidewalks as part of our, but because of the railroad modifications, we're not doing a lot of that in this particular project.
Okay.
But we're improving the drainage.
Aren't the, to do the curb and gutter, isn't that part of the drainage on Center Street and Edwards?
If it has to be redone as part of improving the drainage, yes.
Yeah, but the sidewalks on Edward Street are flowing into the buildings.
Okay.
So I thought that was a major part of the enhancement.
I can't speak to that. I'll have to get the engineer to come back and explain it. But it has nothing to do with what this proposal is.
Right, but until I know that, I wouldn't want to go forward on any of this. Plus, the community building, if we're not moving forward today on the community building, I'd like for all this to be synced together.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion. It needs to all be synced together.
One of the things I wonder, and this is something that you get from Commissioner Rose, that he always asks, well, why the fee of $14,710.80? Is there like a that I'm sure that there's a rhyme and reason to how did they got to that figure? Did they happen to share that with you?
They did. It's broken down into how much time they feel like each member of the team is going to have to spend gathering information and assimilating it into the report.
This same group did the community survey work in Jamesville for the US 70 corridor group, and Jamesville's primarily an African American community. They did a great job in that community, meeting with the public and working out some issues dealing with the construction. I'd just like to see it all blended together with all the improvements on that street.
And my question is, I realize that with our engineering, we don't reach out for multiple quotes a lot because of the familiarity of our engineer with projects. But like with this, is this not something we should probably ask for a second or third quote?
We can if we can find someone else to talk to us.
That's what I was wondering. That's my next question: is how difficult is it to find this kind of
We
engineer?
had a larger firm talk to us, and their price was $30,000.
Okay.
So
Well, this is-
this was several months ago,
Right.
and so we backed off because that was just not affordable. And then this firm came to our attention.
Did Tim Little's firm reach out to us? Or?
They're on the deep side.
And so with I've read over this. With their proposed changes, I assume that what we would be paying for would be a report. That then we could take that report and then go apply for money
Yes.
from large agencies. How important is it? Because I had kind of been thinking. Somebody asked me the other day about where are we at on Center Street with the one-way operation.
This would be the next step.
And so, my thought was that it was all going to be tied into the drainage work that would kind of be done all along, because we wouldn't want to be tearing up stuff and then have to go back and redo it. So that's not right, is it? It's not really tied in together.
No.
Okay. All right.
So we're proposing putting a roundabout right there by the hardware store.
Well, not proposal. I think there's.
They'll study it to see if it's practical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The land use document is the vision, and this study would determine what's possible
Okay.
and how to implement it.
Do we have a copy of that? Is that from my previous?
It's in your packet.
Oh, it's the next one. Okay.
I didn't want you to have to look for it.
Yeah.
But we shared this document with this firm, and they said to determine all these things for us, this is what the price would be, and they would also help us seek funding for it.
Oh, they would have to.
They were going to identify funding sources as part of their scope, I believe.
So where would this original 14,000 come from, and then how would it be reimbursed?
Powell bill funds, We have, about $90,000 in power bill funds as of June 30th, not counting the allocation we'll get this year. So we can pay it from power bill funds, and then if and when we move on to a project to implement, any of these changes, we can include the cost of the study as part of the, project cost and be reimbursed for it. Especially if we're going, we would especially want to consider that if we're going to an agency that offers grant funding. And that happened when we did the initial Beaver Dam study. We paid that, it's $4,900, I think. And then once we got funding from Golden Leaf, they agreed to reimburse us that $4,900. We didn't have it in our budget, but they amended our budget to actually allow us that $4,900 for that study. And then we applied for the downtown area. We said we know we have a problem, and we asked for the study money to be part of the budget, and so we didn't have to pay for that one either. Because if you remember, it's been about a year since we finalized the land use plan, and we've been looking for an affordable transportation engineer ever since.
So in a nutshell, they would help improve traffic flow, connect our existing sidewalks with new potential sidewalks.
And investigate the roundabouts that we envisioned. And the one-way traffic.
And if we envision one and they say that's not a good idea, they would also tell us
Right, they
that.
would, right. And the mayor is correct, this would all tie into improvements at the community building. Tie into improving the appearance of Center Street, which is a concern Mr. Martin had.
I mean, and there are some things that government sometimes believe that they can fix everything. But there's some things that are out of our hands. And same as I said before, you got Phil is in the auto repair business. That a lot of his customers park right there. People drop off cars. You've got the armors that they're working on their building. I don't know what they plan to do. And then you got the Starling property. You know, we don't know what they're going to do with that. But I mean, someone could purchase it and turn it into something completely different. You know, I mean, but we don't have that much power to really make things around us prettier.
Well, I would comment that you get people to buy into your vision. That's what zoning is about. That's what beautification efforts are about. You know, some people just lease their building; they don't own it. But I would like to postpone this until we have a consensus on the community building so we can tie it all together. I think that's a Plus, I think it's, you know, if we're gonna spend 14,000 for this, same logic that you were maybe referring to, get the flood money in place before we spend some additional money, and that's only 3 weeks away.
What is a road diet? I was trying to read this, understand.
That is a word I don't know.
I couldn't quite figure out the context.
I think it's the, cars traveled, how many cars it can handle and how many cars are on it.
The caloric
And,
intake.
and I think the, like going down from 2 to 1 lane,
Mhm.
because the road
Yeah,
diet was in
yeah,
the,
Yeah.
land use plan, I think,
Okay,
too.
okay.
So that, so sacrificing some lanes on Dr. Jones Boulevard to put in a traffic circle to keep traffic flowing instead of stopping and starting.
Okay.
I think that's what the drawing from Dr. Jones was, it ended up being a 2-lane road.
Because now, just like the morning and even traffic congestion on Pine Street, that I really don't think that a roundabout, it may help some, but there comes a time whenever the vehicles that flow into the school, that they're gonna back up everything and it's just not possible for it to move.
I think there's always, at that time of day, you're gonna have congestion, but I do feel like roundabout is gonna keep things flowing, not just, there's the backup that you have now, and the indecision of people of like, who's got the right of way, what do you do, and you know, the just cluster that it is. But I don't have a problem, I mean, we can talk about this in October,
Yeah.
but I this is a thing I think, yeah, you're talking about what government does, we need to keep the toilets flushing, the water flowing, the streets and the sidewalks, these are things that are right up our alley.
Exactly.
And these is, and this town is growing, and if you try to cross some of these places at certain times of day, it's nearly impossible now, and it's just gonna get worse, so, it's something that we do need to address.
I agree, and unfortunately, stop signs, people don't even know what they are.
No, just,
Because you pull in front of the hardware store, I can be on the street looking and people just drive through. They,
all the time.
Wait a minute, Miss Mayor, I know you ain't talking about nobody driving.
Mhm.
You ought to leave that alone.
Okay, so we will address this issue in the October meeting. Number 14, how do we address that well at this point?
Well, if you'll remember, back when we were hesitant about accepting the, funding for remodeling the community building, our contact representative, Tobias Fullwood, told us we had 18 months to use the funds. Well, now it's been 24. And so since it's pretty obvious they're not gonna follow through with that plan, he and the, Garland Burnett, who's at the state level, recommend that we request those funds be de-obligated, and then we get our new plan together, we reapply. Because it would be very difficult to modify the scope of our original financing with a new building and courtyard, when the original plan was just to remodel the building we had. And, so he told me that I needed to, obtain permission from the council to make a request to de-obligate the funds for remodeling the existing community building.
But to reapply?
Yeah, it definitely to
Okay,
reapply.
that needs to be how the
But
motion is.
Right, but this, but we have to have a plan to reapply. So we can reapply in the future, but we'll be letting these funds go.
So just curious, since it's been more than 18 months, like, are they even being held?
Yes.
They are being held, okay.
Yeah, and I think they've been lenient because of COVID.
Mhm.
But they do, we either need to take a step towards using the funds as they were obtained, for the purposes they were obtained for, or let them de-obligate those funds. And they would go to other projects that potentially had overruns or back into the fund for us to apply for again.
And that was back to the presentation the gentleman gave us where it was a $700,000 project. We spent the first three. We borrowed, how was it in order? We had to
You
spend.
had to borrow before you got the
Borrow
grant.
first, borrow the first 400 and then
Mhm.
spend our 300. Okay.
Actually, you spend local first,
Mhm.
then loan, then grant.
Okay. Well, unless there's anybody wanting to make any discussion about going back to the plan of fixing up the old building, I don't see us having the need to discuss this all right.
Well, in the correspondence that you send back that we plan to reapply, that can be part of the motion for a new structure.
And just to be clear, that this particular funding source, that was when we were going to just
Remodel the old building.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so the funds are contingent on the fact of us remodeling and not building new.
Right.
Okay.
And the discussion was that our plans would be so vastly different that it would be more difficult to modify the scope of the existing funding than it would be for us to de-obligate these and reapply for the new project we want to do.
Well, if the board don't wanna put,
The lipstick.
yeah, don't wanna put lipstick on the pig, we just need to see. But I'll make the motion, Madam Administrator, that we would, de-obligate, the funds and notify USDA that we, that we may, submit an application in the future.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Martin and second by Commissioner Rose. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? And any other business? Hope to see everybody Monday night at 6 o'clock at the courthouse. And go from there.
Make a motion. We adjourn.
I'll tell you what,
It's all 9:20, I think.
I am shocked. that I haven't been home this early in I don't know when.
Your motion to adjourn.
There it is.
Commissioner Rose has made a motion, second by Commissioner Martin. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.